Alright, good evening ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vardhan and I'm very excited to be here on Edureka Live with you guys. So in today's session, I will start with the differences between Salesforce administration and Salesforce development. And after that, I will go into details of one particular Salesforce administration task, that is user management. So by the end of today's session, you will understand why managing user profiles and licenses is the number one task of administrators. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Salesforce org. My name is Vardhan, and I'm very excited to be here. I'm going to show you a demonstration with you very same act. So in today's session, I will start with the differences between Salesforce administration and Salesforce development. Hi, and after that, I will go into details of one particular Salesforce administration task. So guys, that is my user guess is that everybody attending this session are aware of the benefits of you will understand why managing user profiles. Can you guys quickly tell me that? Is if you're aware of Salesforce and if you're good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vardhan. What about you? The best part is I'm going to show you a demonstration with you very same act. So in today's session, I will start with the differences between Salesforce administration and Salesforce development. Hi, and after that, I will go into details of one particular Salesforce administration task. So guys, that is my user guess is that everybody attending this session are aware of the benefits of you will understand why managing user profiles. Can you guys quickly tell me that? Is if you're aware of Salesforce and if you're good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vardhan. What about you? The best part is I'm going to show you a demonstration with you very same act. So in today's session, there may be I'm expecting guys to also expect Salesforce development and after that, I will go into details of one particular Salesforce administration task. From Salesforce domain, my user guess is that everybody attending this session are aware of the audience understand. First of all, managing user profile, you guys quickly tell me that if you're right, for those good evening ladies and gentlemen, my name is Vardhan. Some people right, best part is I'm going to show you going on with you. I would do that right. So in today's session, there may be I'm expecting guys start off by going to expect Salesforce development and after that, who have not known about Salesforce and I also expect people of administration from Salesforce domain. My user guess is that everybody attending this session are aware of the audience understand. First of all, managing user profile, you guys quickly tell me that if you're right, for those good evening ladies and gentlemen, my name is Vardhan. Some people right, best part is I'm going to show you going on with you. I would do that right. So in today's session, there may be I'm expecting guys start off by going to expect Salesforce development and after that, who have not known about Salesforce and I also expect people of administration from Salesforce domain. My user guess is that everybody attending this session are aware of the audience understand. First of all, managing user profile, you guys quickly tell me that if you're right, for those good evening ladies and gentlemen, my name is Vardhan. Some people right, best part is I'm going to show you going on with you. I would do that right. So in today's session, there may be I'm expecting guys start off by going to expect Salesforce development and after that, who have not known about Salesforce and I also expect people of administration from Salesforce domain. My user guess is that everybody attending this session are aware of the audience understand. First of all, managing user profile, you guys quickly tell me that if you're right, for those good evening ladies and gentlemen, my name is Vardhan. Some people right, best part is I'm going to show you going on with you. I would do that right. So in today's session, there may be I'm expecting guys start off by going to expect Salesforce development and after that, who have not known about Salesforce and I also expect people of administration from Salesforce domain. My user guess is that everybody attending this session are aware of the audience understand. First of all, managing user profile, you guys quickly tell me that if you're right, for those good evening ladies and gentlemen, my name is Vardhan. Some people right, best part is I'm going to show you going on with you. I would do that right. So in today's session, there may be I'm expecting guys start off by going to expect Salesforce development and after that, who have not known about Salesforce and I also expect people of administration from Salesforce domain. My user guess is that everybody attending this session are aware of the audience understand. First of all, managing user profile, you guys quickly tell me that if you're right, for those good evening ladies and gentlemen. Hello. My name is Vardhan. Some people right, best part is I'm going to show you going on with you. I would do that right. So in today's session, there may be I'm expecting guys start off by going to expect Salesforce development. Please bear with us for a minute, guys. Let's just get rid of this audio glitch. Hello. Please bear with us for a minute, guys. Let's just get rid of this audio glitch. Hello. So yeah, guys, so now it should all be up and running. We're all fine now. And if there are still audio issues, please put them in the comment box. But let me get back to my session. And I was just asking this question. Are there people in the session who have worked on Salesforce before? And if you've worked on before, please let me know, because I want to understand what kind of audience I have today. So yeah, guys, so now it should all be up and running. We're all fine now. And if there are still audio issues, please put them in the comment box. But let me get back to my session. And I was just asking this question. Are there people in the session who have worked on Salesforce before? And if you've worked on before, please let me know, because I want to understand what kind of audience I have today. So yeah, guys, so now it should all be up and running. We're all fine now. And if there are still audio issues, please put them in the comment box. But let me get back to my session. And I was just asking this question. Are there people in the session who have worked on Salesforce before? And if you've worked on before, please. All right, I have a couple of responses here. Some are saying yes, and I'm also guessing some people to say no. But anyways, for people who've been here, who've learned, who've been working on Salesforce for a long time, it'll be a good revision for you people. And for those who have not any experience of Salesforce, then it'd be something new that you'd be learning, right? So I'll give you an introduction to what are the differences between licenses, profiles, and permission sets in Salesforce. I'm also guessing some people to say no. But anyways, for people who've been here, who've learned, who've been working on Salesforce for a long time, it'll be a good revision for you people. And for those who have not any experience of Salesforce, then it'd be something new that you'd be learning, right? So I'll give you an introduction to what are the differences between licenses, profiles, and permission sets in Salesforce. I'm also guessing some people to say no. But anyways, for people who've been here, who've learned, who've been working on Salesforce for a long time, it'll be a good revision for you people. And for those yeah, so now there should be no audio issues, guys. I'm sorry for the earlier glitch. There was an issue from my end. But yeah, now that it's all sorted, we can get started. And yeah, Nikita also says she's a first timer. So yeah, we have a mixed response. So I've got a mixed response. We have people from all domains. We've got people who've attended, who've been working on Salesforce. And yeah, Nikita's one who's not. So it's going to be a good session for all of you. And if you guys have any doubts during the session, do drop in your queries or questions in the comment box, and my team or I will myself answer them right away. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy Edureka Live for the next 45 minutes to learn something really exciting about this Salesforce technology. And these will be the topics that I will be covering today. I'll first of all talk about the fundamental differences between Salesforce administration and Salesforce development. And I'll talk about what are the differences that are there in these two job roles. And after that, I'll get the main topic of today, that is how to assign profiles and permission sets to new users and to existing users in your Salesforce org, right? So this is one of the most important and day-to-day tasks that a Salesforce administrator would work on, right? Creating user licenses, assigning profiles, and assigning permission sets to them. So first of all, Salesforce administration deals with managing and administering the production org. You know, when we say production org, it's all about making sure the releases that are deployed, they are deployed to the production on time. And it's also about making sure the environment is stable after the release. And besides that, the administrator also makes sure that the user profiles and the licenses comply as per the needs. And he's responsible for keeping track of the progress of the project and ensuring that there is no gap between the requirement specification and the actual project development. So that was about Salesforce administration. And Salesforce development, on the other hand, is going about the development or creation of the actual application. And the developers here primarily work on Apex and Visualforce to create VF pages or Visualforce pages. And these Visualforce pages need to be controlled because users will be interacting with this VF pages, correct? So that's what development is all about. Development is all about creating a Visualforce page, and because that is the actual application that's going to be delivered to your customers. And Salesforce administrator is an administrator is going to control and coordinate the activities of development with the development team and his Salesforce team there, right? With the clients and with the development team of his. And Salesforce development can first of all be done in two ways. One is via the programmatic approach, right? So you'll be developing code here in Apex language, and thus you'll be building the application. And then the other way is by the point and click features. So when we say point and click features, it's all about dragging and dropping of different text boxes, of dragging and various other aspects, and thus creating a Visual Force page with the help of the force.com window, right? So one is via the programmatic approach, and the other is via the force.com homepage. And when it comes to Salesforce administration, it involves organization-wide admins who are first of all responsible for the entire organization, and we have implementation experts. So when we say when we talk about implementation experts, we talk about the sales managers, the marketing managers, the solution managers, and the various other people who are responsible for taking care of one particular domain. So if it's a sales manager, he'll be taking care of the sales aspect of his company, right? So he's responsible for growing the business of his particular domain. And then organization-wide administrators are the general Salesforce administrators who would be controlling the entire organization on their own. So that's the basic difference between administration and development. And it's important that you people know the difference, because a lot of people and a lot of my students still ask me this question during every class, right? So there's to have a clear understanding of these two, I've spoken about this slide, and if you know this slide, then I can go forward and go to my next slide and talk about the most important Salesforce administration task. Alright guys, so guys, do let me know if you guys are clear on this topic, and I can go forward. Alright, I'm getting a couple of responses. A couple from Abdul, so I can anyways go to the next slide, and here is where I'm going to talk about the administration aspect, and this is the main topic for today, right? So I'm going to talk about the user management activities that any administrator would perform. So let's understand how he goes about creating new user profiles, managing those profiles, assigning licenses, and making sure the profile permissions are set properly, and if anything extra is needed, how permission sets can be used to extend those functionalities of profiles. So first of all, assigning profiles is the most important task of an administrator. Can anybody guess why? I can give you a hint. That's because any user in a Salesforce org definitely has a profile. There cannot be anyone without a profile. So anybody who knows the answer to that can tell me. You can do that by putting it in the comment box below. Well, anyways, it's fine if people don't know. The fact is that every user has a profile, because it is the profile which controls what a user can see, access, and modify in a Salesforce org. Now, let's talk about a sales representative. As you can see in this image, if a sales representative wants to find out what are the details of a particular lead or a particular customer, then he has to have the sales profile assigned to him. And that sales profile will have access to the sales data, right? So all the sales data will be present in Salesforce object. So in Salesforce, data is stored inside objects, right? So if he wants access to a particular object, then he has to have a profile which is assigned to that particular object. And similarly, there's a solution engineer, right? If she wants to clear out any cases or any tickets raised by any customers, then she should have been assigned a profile of a solution. She should have been assigned a solution profile, and that profile should have all the necessary objects and all the necessary data. So, and similarly, you have an implementation manager who would be working on various domains, right? So there'll be multiple teams and multiple verticals. He'll be working on multiple of those, and if he wants access, then he has to be assigned a similar profile. That is the manager profile. So the implementation managers here can be anyone. Can be a sales cloud manager, can be a service cloud manager, a marketing cloud manager, can be anyone who's even working on the wave analytics. It's also called as the Einstein analytics, right? So you can work on all these things, and you should be assigned the right profile. And then there's one more important thing that you should know about profiles. All of these profiles are totally unique to each user set, right? So each user base, each team there has a different profile, and if there are any additional features or functionalities that a particular user from a user base needs, then he cannot be he cannot be assigned a new profile. Well, that's a big problem there. Can anybody guess what the problem is? Well, the problem is that there'll be multiple users in a single team. Now, let's say there's a sales team, and then in the sales team there can be like 20 people or 30 people, and similarly you'll have a support team which would be taking care of tickets, and that team would have around 20-30 people, right? And each of them would be assigned the same profile. Now, if there's just one person from those teams who wants new functionalities assigned, then you cannot do that. You cannot create a new profile, and things are dynamic, right? So new people come and go. There are new functionalities needed, and then there are temporary and new functionalities would probably be needed only for a temporary time. So in that case, it's not advisable to always create new profiles, right? It's a tedious task also. So for that purpose, we have something called as permission sets. But before talking about permission sets, I want to give you this problem statement here. Okay, so the problems, as per the problem statement, we are speaking about the same thing. Multiple teams comprising of 20 users, and if there are team leads or managers who need access to organization-wide data, then what do? Do we create new profiles, right? So it's a similar thing. In our case, the team leads or managers would probably need access to the data that is present, in some other team. So if it's a sales manager, he might want to see how many tickets come for a particular product, and which ticket has the most number of queries and has the most number of cases pending. So all these things he might want to see it, but that doesn't mean you can give him a modify all. You can give him the complete permissions. You cannot let the sales manager modify details in the sales or in the support object. You cannot let him view everything, right? So if you want to, you have to also restrict his access in the other object, because that's not his domain of expertise. So this is the scenario where a permission set would be needed. So permission sets are basically those which extend the functionalities of a user. Now take an example of the same sales manager that's mentioned here in the slides. So he has a sales profile, and he initially has a read and a create permission on his sales profile, right? And even all of his members, all of his team members in the sales team would have the same profile, correct? But then you cannot give the same access to the manager. The manager needs something more, right? So he might want to check and track the performance of each of his team members, and he might also want to see other things from his team, right? So you might want to see what is the data present in the other team's objects. So you might want to keep track. So at that time, to specifically give him extra permissions, we can make use of permission sets, and this way he'll have access to everything. He'll have access to what is there in the sales profile, and he'll have access to what is there even in the permission sets. So, and this is the benefit with permission sets is you don't disturb the profile here, and it's all the other people have the same permissions, and it's just this one particular person who has this additional credentials. So that's why permission sets are always beneficial, and that's how they save a lot of time and save a lot of energy, and they make things very efficient for the Salesforce administrator. And if you're a Salesforce administrator, then you would probably be working on these things, and you'd be doing this on a day-to-day basis, because you'll have a number of users coming in, you'll have a number of people coming into your system, going out, accessing. You'll also want to give some kind of an access to your clients, right? So you'd want to create temporary accounts for your clients, give them so access to certain objects, and show them what is the progress that has been made in the development of the application, and all these things. And all these things are the main task of a Salesforce administrator, correct? So yeah, I hope everyone is clear on these slides here and on the content that's discussed. If that's the case, do let me know, because next up is the demonstration where I'm going to show you how to create users, how to assign them profiles, how to manage permission sets to them. Okay. All right. So let me just get started with my demonstration. Let me show you how to create your licenses, how to manage your licenses, how to create profiles for those licenses, and then how to assign permission sets for particular profiles where you want to give additional access. So I need to first of all go to my Chrome window, and this is my Salesforce org, right? So for those of you who are used to Salesforce, this is of course the new application that we are logged into, and this is the one that I created for this demonstration. And on this side here, on the left hand side, you have the tabs, right? In the tabs, you have access to various objects. So these are the three different objects which I created. One is called the total sales, the other one the total cases, and then we have something called as Edureka courses. So I've used the example of Edureka to create a data set over here. So inside my total sales object, I have details about the different courses that have been sold. All right, and inside my total cases, I have a list of all the cases and all the tickets that have been generated by our customers who have raised queries. And then in the Edureka courses is a special object which I created so that I can show you how permission sets can be assigned to the sales manager or someone special. So first of all, let me open this object here. So inside the total sales object, we have a list of a couple of courses which have been sold. So this is a sample data set. So, and these are the courses which we have sold, right? There are 4 courses, that's Spark, AWS, Hadoop, and DevOps. And the person who bought it, the customer who bought it, their names are here, the email address is here, and their phone number is right here. And similarly, if you go to the total cases, in here we have a couple of cases that have been registered for different courses. So these are the different courses, and these are the different issues that have been raised by the different customers. Now, what we would need to do is we have to first of all create different users and assign them these objects. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create 3 different users. All right. First of all, I'll create one user and assign him this sales profile. Okay. The sales profile will get access only to this object, and then I'll create another object. I'll create another profile that's called the support profile, and that support profile will get access only to this object. All right. And then I'll create another profile which is the sales manager or another implementation manager. Okay, so that profile will have access to all the 3 objects, and when I do this, I will show you the actual working of profiles. And finally, I will show you how to overcome some problems of profiles, like how to implement permission sets. And I'll show you one more case where, if there's a person from the sales team and he might want access to the data that is present in the total cases object. So at that time, how do we use permission sets to give him only the read permission to get details, to get access to those details, right? So yep, let me get started with my session then. My demo is first of all going to revolve around creating users. So to create users, you have to first of all go to setup. And if there's anything that you want to search for in a quick fashion, then you can just type it in here, right? But otherwise, on the left hand panel here, you have access to everything. If you want to manage users, you can click on this drop down and you can choose all these things. You can choose what profiles you want to create, what profiles you want to assign to different users. If you want to create new users, you can do it from here. And if you want to assign permission sets, you can do it from here. And similarly, if you go down and under create, you have apps, objects, tabs, and all these things, right? So here you can you can use this to create a new app or create a new object or create a new tab and create additional features and build functionality here. But for our purpose, I'm going to first of all go and click on users, right? So these are my active users currently, right? So we can get to see who are the admin users, and we can see all users. But yeah, currently these are the active users. I have already created 2 users for saving some time. I've created Albert and Mike, right? So Albert here will have access to the sales team, and Mike here will have access to the support team. And if they want access to what data is present in what data those teams would deal with, then he has to be assigned that particular profile. So there's a profile for sales team, and there's a profile for the solution team. And let me, before I talk about the access, and before I show you what access they have, let me create a new user and give him access to everything. To give him access, I'll give him access to the sales to this total sales object. I'll give him access to the total cases object, and I will also give him access to this. That will also help you in understanding how to create a new user as a Salesforce administrator. So to do that, you can just straight away click on this new user over here. And over here, you can start entering details of the customer that you want to. Supposing you want to give your new employee or your new user a name, then you can just say that here, Richard, right? And if you want to give him some kind of a surname, you can just say it here. And you will have the alias over here, and the email address field here is a pretty important field in my demonstration, right? So generally what we would do is we would enter the email address of the new employee or the new user that we want to onboard in our Salesforce org. But in this case, I'm gonna hit my own email address over here. Can anybody guess why I'm entering my own email address in this case? Does anybody have any idea why I'm doing that? All right. For those of you who don't know why I'm doing that, it's because whatever whatever user I create, right? No matter what his username is, what his password is, whatever account he's been assigned, the email to activate the link to activate his account will be received at this email. So in the real world scenario, we would put his email address, but if I put his real email address over here, then I would not get the activation link. Since it's a new user, I'm just going to put my email address here, and the username field, I'm going to put the username of this particular person. So let's say his email address is rick.edu@edureka.com. And the thing you got to note is every user account in the Salesforce org would have a .com, right? So every username would go off this format. It would not be in the .co format, right? So this would be the format for every username. And yeah, the nickname is again something that you can customize as per your user or employee. And these were the important fields that we had to enter. These were the compulsory fields. And the next thing we got to set is the user license, right? So you have to set a user license and a profile for that particular person. If you want to choose a particular profile, then you have to first of all choose the license, and each license will have a number of profiles linked to that, and you have to choose one from that list. So if I first of all choose chat or external, then I'll have a limited set of options. But if I want to if I just go for Salesforce, then I'll have another set of options here. So I have one profile here called standard user, right? So standard user is one of the most basic standard profiles for Salesforce, which has complete access. So I'm going to assign this profile to him, and I'm doing that also because he is a senior user, right? I'm creating him as a implementation manager, right? As a sales manager who will get complete access. So that's why that's another reason why I'm using standard user over here. And when you've entered these details, you can check on any of these details if you need to, but right now it's not really mandatory, so I'm just going to ignore them for now, and I'm going to scroll down. If you want to add the the personal details of that particular person, you can do so over here, and you can also set these details over here. Okay, and the important thing that you got to note is you have to check on this box. There's an option of generate new password and notify user immediately. If you don't check on this box, then the email address specified above will not get the activation link, and the user will not be created, right? The user will not get the link to activate his account. So when you do that, you can just save it, and if you look up, the user would have been created. So what I have to do now is I have to quickly go to my email address because I've got a link to activate this user account. So I'm just going to go here. Yep, Salesforce developers, right? So it says welcome to your developer edition. This is your username, and you'll have to, if you want to activate your account, you have to click on this link. So I'm just going to copy this link, and in an incognito window, I'm going to hit this link. And when I do that, Salesforce will ask me to log in. Right? So let's enter the new password for this person. So let me enter the password as this, and let me confirm the same. And there's a security question. So yeah, which city I was born. I'm going to enter that details too. And let's change the password at first login. Yeah. So as you can see now, Richard has this view, right? So he does not have the same as what we had earlier. That's because he was logged on to a different app. So this was a student app. Now if I quickly go to the YouTube live demo app, this was the app we were talking about, right? So he has a different set of access. Now you might ask why he doesn't have access to total sales, total cases, and the other object, that is, and the other object over here, right, which was Edureka courses. He does not have access to that because his profile has not been assigned these objects. Now my question is, can I assign these objects to that profile? Can I edit that profile such that I can give access to these objects? Can any of you here tell me, give me an answer to that question? Alright, anyways, I'll give you the answer. That's because, well, the thing is I cannot edit that profile because the profile is a standard user profile. Okay, when I say standard user profile, it is a profile that came with Salesforce, right? That's a standard profile. It's not a custom profile. What I can do is I can clone the standard profile. I can then make changes to that profile, right? But I cannot straight away make any changes to any standard profile in Salesforce. So this is the right time for me to introduce you to profiles now. Now, if you click on the profiles from this option here, you will get the list of all the profiles that are currently there in your Salesforce org. So we have a couple of custom profiles over here, and then you have all these other profiles which are standard profiles. So the sales profile which I assigned that time was the standard user profile. So I straight away assigned this profile, so I cannot make any changes in this profile. Now if I clone this, and if I give my own name here, now let's say my username is Richard, right? So I'm going to say profile for Richard. Okay, and if I save this, then I'll have a new profile which has the same permissions as my standard user profile. But the advantage here is I can make changes to this profile. So to make changes, well, before I make changes, let me show you what permissions do we have by default. We have access to all the standard objects like cases, accounts, leads, opportunities, orders, and all these things. But we don't have access to any of these custom objects, right? So you cannot see any tick mark here, and that is one of the reasons why Richard here does not have access to those. So if I want to enable those objects to be visible over here, then I have to first of all edit this profile. Correct? Let me scroll up and click on edit. And over here, there are a lot of options with respect to app settings and tab settings and user permissions, right? Administrative permissions. You can set all these here, but we need to concentrate on our objects, and we can do that from here. So if I want to give Richard access to my total cases and total sales, I can just click on these things, right? So I can click on modify all and check on create also. When I do this, Richard will have access to these two objects. And similarly, there's Edureka courses over here. So I'll give him access to even this particular object, correct? And then I have I have more opportunities and I have more flexibility for security by choosing the number of times or choosing the time before which the account will get logged because of inactivity. If I say 2 hours of inactivity, this means that if a user session is inactive for more than 2 hours, then he would be logged out and he has to log in again. And then I have other permissions here, right? I have other flexibility with respect to setting a password which would expire in a particular set of days, and then I can enforce password not to be repeated for 3 times. And then I can set the password length. I can set the password type, right? Whether it should have a mix of alphanumeric characters and all these things. So whatever, if you click on all these things, if you choose to, then you can. And what you need to do is you need to save. When you save, you have your new profile, which is modified as per your needs. And my profile is profile for Richard. This is the name of my profile. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly go back to profiles, and from the list over here, you can see profile for Richard, right? I have to assign this profile to Richard. Now to assign it to Richard, I need to go back to users. So under Richard, I need to click on edit. And here, there's something called as user license. So I have to click on this drop down. So under Salesforce, we have a profile for Richard. So this is the profile name. And if I click on this, and yes, this is active already, but in case if you guys are if I forgot to inform earlier, then only when this checkbox is checked, only then your user will be active, otherwise he'll be inactive, right? So when you've done this, you need to save it, and by now Richard would have the updated profile. So if I quickly go back to his account and if I hit refresh, then you can see that the 3 new courses or the 3 new objects have been assigned to him. So Edureka courses, the total cases, and total sales. So these 3 objects have been assigned to Richard. Now that's what a profile would do. And similarly, on these same terms, I have a profile for Albert and Mike. But for Albert, I have only the sales object, and for Mike, I have only the solution object because I've created these profiles and I have given them access to only those objects. Now let me quickly show you them, right? So I'm going to copy Albert's email address. I'm going to log out of Richard, and if you log back in as Albert this time, you'll get to see what Albert has access to. Okay, it asks for a verification code, so let me just wait for the verification code here. Okay, this is the code, and I'm going to paste it here, verify. So this is Albert's profile. All right, so this is Salesforce org. It was in fact our org which we assigned to Albert, and if you notice, Albert has only the total sales object. He does not have the total cases object, or he doesn't have the Edureka courses object over here. He has only access to total sales. And similarly, if you go and check Mike's profile, then he would have access only to the solution object, correct? Now let me quickly show you that by copying his address here and logging out, entering his email address, and the password is this. And again, there's a verification code that goes. So verified, and now you can see Mike's profile here, right? So this is Mike's view of the Salesforce org, and he has access only to total cases. And yeah, that's what a profile can do. So you can be in any team, you can have multiple teams, you can have 20-30 teams, and each team will have a different profile, and And since each profile will be assigned to only certain data, he'll get to see only that data if he's assigned to a particular profile, and that's how this works. And now I want to quickly go back to Richard's profile and show you that he has access to everything, correct? I'm going to copy Richard's address here, log out, log back in as Richard. Yeah, so Richard has access to all these things now, but you might also want to control what Richard has access to, correct? So if I go to Edureka courses here, and if I modify my view by clicking on the go over here, then Richard can basically get to see all the courses that are currently there. He can see that there is a Spark course, there's an AWS course, there's a Hadoop, DevOps, and a Salesforce course. Now, now as an administrator, what if I want to restrict his permissions over here? What if I want to give him only the read access? Can I do that? Can anyone in the audience tell me how it's done, if at all I can? Anybody in the audience? Well, anyways, if you have any answers, do put them in the comment box. And in the meanwhile, let me just continue and tell you that I can control that from my profiles again. So I need to go back here and go to profiles. And under profiles, I need to choose profile for Richard, right? So I need to click on edit over here. And if I scroll down, I'll get to control what he gets to read, what he gets to modify, what he gets to create. And if it's Edureka courses which I don't want him to modify, then I can just check on this, right? And if I don't want him to modify at all, then I can just click on this and also not let him create. Now this way I'm only giving him access to read, correct? So I'm only giving him access to read all the data that is present here. So if I just hit on save, his profile will be updated and even his access would be modified. So if I refresh this page, you can see that the new Edureka courses, that button is off, right? It's not visible anymore. That's because of the updation in the profile credentials. Now that's what I wanted to talk about with respect to profiles. And there would also be times when you will have to use permission sets, right? So permission sets is when you have multiple people in your team, and you want to give just one person from that team extra credentials, and during that time you can use permission sets. And for showing permission sets, an example of permission sets, I want to quickly again log out and log in as Albert this time. Okay, so we have users over here, Albert. Now the reason I'm again going to log in as Albert is because right now Albert will have access only to the sales data, right? He's part of the sales team who's been assigned the sales profile, and he'll get access only to the sales data. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give him permission set of the solution data. So whoever's there in the support team, right, I'll give Albert the ability to view what tickets come, correct? And to do that, first of all, let me log in as Albert and show you what is the status. So right now there's only total sales visible, and under total sales I have complete permissions here. I can add new sales details also. I can add new records over here. Now if I want to update his credentials by using permission sets, I have to go to this tab over here, right? Permission sets. I have to go on this option, and here I can probably create a new permission set over here. So if I want to create a new permission set, I can just click on new. I can say permission for Richard, correct? And similarly, if you come down, you have to choose the license over here. Now the license here refers to the the license your profile belongs to. Now in case of Albert here, his profile is called as profile for sales team, right? So the profile for sales team is under the license of force.com free. So we have a number of profiles here. I used standard user, which is under the Salesforce category, correct? Which is under this license. I created the profile under this license, okay? But this time, the force.com free profile, the force.com free license is under, that is the license under which we have the sales profile and the service profile created. So I'm going to quickly go there, and I'm going to show you how it works. So I'm just going to click on this force.com free, click on save, and here you can update the permission sets for that particular profile. And first of all, if you want to create or if you want to update the apps that he can see, you can do so from here. And if you want to update or modify the objects that he has access to, then you can do so by clicking on this one. And since we want to give him different set of object permissions, then we can click on this object settings, and inside this we have a lot of options here, right? So all these are the different objects. We have the standard objects here, we also have the custom objects, and the object that we are bothered about is the profile for is the sales team, right? So if I go back here, you can see that total sales, this is the object, the custom object which we created, and total cases, so total cases is somewhere here, and total sales is somewhere here. So right now he has access to all these things, and if I want to give him read permission of support data, then I can do so by modifying this object. So right now none of them are enabled, so I'll click on edit, and here if I just check on read, then Albert would be able to read what is there in this particular object, correct? So I'm going to save this, and now that it's saved, let me can anyone tell me if the permission sets, the update permission sets would be available for that person, for Albert? Would that be the case, right? Can anyone tell me that? No, they would not be, because I have right now only enabled the permission set for that user. All right, I have not assigned him that particular permission set. So if you want to assign permission sets to a user, then you have to click on manage assignments. So right now the thing is, I have created a new permission set for my user, okay, for my profile, for the profile name is force.com free, which has this license, and under this force.com free, I need to manage assignments. So to do that, you have to click on manage assignments over here, and right now there's nothing to display. So if you click on add assignments, you can choose for which user you want to assign a particular profile for. So in our case, we want to assign the solution data to Albert, right? So Albert is our person from the sales team, and we want to give him access to our support data. So I would just check on him, and I would say assign. So this has been assigned to Albert, and now if I just go back to his data, to Albert's Salesforce org, and if I hit enter, you can see that total cases is another object that is visible, right? But the thing is, he will not have complete access, so he only has access to view what is present over here. But however, total sales, since that's his domain of expertise, he'll have access to all the data that's present in this object. And this is how you can also give extra permissions to any managers or team leads part of your team, correct? And yeah, that's how Salesforce works, and that's how simple it is to work on Salesforce. And this is one of the most important tasks that any Salesforce administrator would have to do day by day, on a daily basis, correct? So yeah, that pretty much brings an end to my session here, and I enjoyed this live session on Salesforce, guys, and I hope you people have learned something new. The people who are new to Salesforce, I hope you learned something new. And the people who have already worked on Salesforce, I hope you guys learned something in a better fashion, and hope you learned something more than what you already knew. And I also want to just quickly notify you that we have an Edureka course. We have a Salesforce course at Edureka, correct? So let me just open that landing page here. So this is our Salesforce certification training here. We train on both administration and the development aspects. And we have a number of batches. We have a batch starting next week itself. So on the Monday of next week, we have a batch starting. That's going to be for 21 days, and that's going to be for 2 hours every day, right? On all the 5 days, it's going to be for 2 hours. And we have a batch on the 7th of August, which is a weekend batch. And you can also get to see all the course details and all the other topics that we will cover in our course from this website, okay? From this web page, Salesforce Administrator and Developer Training. And yeah, that pretty much brings an end to my session here. So we'll come up with more live session, guys, and do subscribe to our channel, like our video, comment, and share our videos. And it will be a pleasure to have you on board with us as our customer. And yeah, probably until next time, stay tuned, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in the next session, guys. So thank you.